Oh, you're upstairs too.
Hey guys, Cam from Inky Knuckles here. Our weekly Saturday night art show. Tonight we got some very cool stuff to look at, and we have some very cool art being created in front of our eyes. I think Zaf got sick of us last week, but he's back this week. We'll see how long that lasts before he gets sick of us again. But he's working on some cool stuff. So this week our focus is, well, I'll just leave it. I'll just say our focus is the X-Men, and I dropped some hints already. Our art show is one of my favorite artists on the planet, and we'll talk more about him later. Arthur Adams, hint, hint. But yeah, let's get into it. The usual crew, starting up with Mr. Ryan Sherwood. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good. You got some crazy stuff to show us tonight.
I guess I do. Some just came in last week, so good timing.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Half the time you don't show us this stuff, so
well, not allowed to. It used to be pretty simple. You buy it and then you post it, but things are a little bit more in motion than that. So I think that I own all these pieces. They're not moving on, so that's something else entirely.
A little more fluid than normal.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Mike Z. Mike, what's up? You look like an upgraded version of yourself.
Earlier. That's right. I'm no longer in the basement, so that's good.
Your
laundry. So
your hat matches your shirt, matches your shelf behind you. So
yes, this is where we keep our little knickknacks. That is my entire collection of life right there.
You also have an aptitude for hanging things, unlike last week. So it looks like you can do it if needed. There's a picture hanging on the wall.
You're right, actually. That's the beach we used to live by in Australia.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, caught us in that.
And speaking of which, Mike, you have a plethora of weapons there. I want you to keep those weapons away from Troy's art. Please.
No, we definitely have a 2-door minimum policy between weapons and art.
2 doors.
And we have Zaf, but one of Zaf's cameras.
Technical difficulties. Hold on a second, sir.
Yeah, so Mike told us about his machete and hatchets that he owns last week, or that was 2 days. That was yesterday. And yeah, it's odd because Mike isn't a collector, so the hatchet and the machete he would have purchased for very functional reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess they're toenails after a marathon.
Yeah. They do work for that, yeah.
Okay, well, we got Zaf back on. Zaf, how you doing, man?
How are you? Can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Perfect.
And what are you drawing here?
I'm actually catching up on a commission.
Okay. Yeah, this was a bad request. I don't know how it's going to turn out. Kidding. It's ironic, and I don't know if David's on here yet, but he's got the Arthur Adams story of all Arthur Adams stories.
Oh, man. Oh.
It's a tragic one. So until we have some positive vibes to send David's way, until he gets his piece from Zaf, then we'll talk about it. I feel like it's still too soon to broadcast that story. I thought about asking David. Octavio says, "Don't bring it up." I thought about asking David to come on for this, just because I know he's a big Arthur fan as well, and I thought he could tell the story. But we'll wait until there's resolution and maybe a bit of a happy ending.
What kind of resolution can come of that?
I'm thinking like another piece is my whole thing. Not.
Oh yeah. David just chimed in.
Carlos is.
Yeah, I know. And that's probably regarding your hair.
Okay, well, before we get into the regular scheduled programming, 2 questions today. Mike wanted to know in advance because he's a dirty, filthy cheater, but I wouldn't tell him.
With the machete.
First question, and I there's a reason behind both these. The first question's simple. It's what's your favorite X-Man? That's not Wolverine. Okay,
That's Wolverine.
That's question 1 because we're talking about the X-Men today. Zaf's drawing an X-Man, and we're looking at some Arthur X-Men art. And number 2, and this is kind of oh my, I'm not even gonna post that publicly. What Carlos just said. Number 2, we've been getting a lot of really cool requests lately, and I'm really impressed with what collectors are kind of bringing to the table with commissions. They have a really keen eye, and they're requesting really cool things. Some more obscure requests for artists, and but some more like standard requests. But it all seems very thorough, very thought out, and it just kind of got me thinking for part B of the 2-part question tonight. If you could commission any living artist, and something that's a possibility, to draw one obscure character that's outside the realm of Big 2 comics, who's the artist and what character would you choose? So I guess there's 3 parts to the question. Favorite X-Man, obscure character request from which artist? And I'll give you guys a second. I can see that the gears grinding right now. I think I feel like Ryan's probably sitting on one. And Ryan, for you,
no, I'm not.
it can't be one that you've already requested, because I know you've gone outside the realm for a few choices. So it can't be one you've already. Any living artist, yeah.
Does it have to be human?
What's that?
Does it have to be human? What about that elephant that does that cool like foot painting stuff? Yeah, see, you got your gears turning.
Yeah. Like living comic artist, someone within our realm.
Can you maybe put a timestamp on that one, and maybe at 8:30 you come back to that? Because I'm just going to give you an off-the-cuff answer that might be replaced later.
That's okay. We'll come back to it, but I am going to put Mr. Machete on the spot. Mike, you're up.
There we go. Okay. Favorite X-Men character is always probably Nightcrawler.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Even as I was just thinking about it today, actually. I was like, that is one of the reasons I really like John Hickman's book there, is because Nightcrawler plays a big role in one of the issues. So I like that one. Something obscure from any artist. I'd probably pick, but it can't be one of the 2 big books. It has to be something outside that.
Yeah, well, and so it can be a movie. It can be a historical figure. It can be anything.
I could get a Canadian Prime Minister.
Which one would you?
Yeah.
I don't think the paper's thin enough.
I think okay, if we're going to get something like that, I think it'd be kind of cool to see a Frank Miller riff on Winston Churchill.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, something. And this is, if I would have had this question 2 hours ago, I would have it.
Right? Yeah, that's why I want to come back to it at 8:30.
Yeah. But that's not the rule, Ryan. We know the rule.
No, it's not. Nope.
Well, that's good. And I guess, and just to speak on Nightcrawler, I think, and Mike, you haven't read, you've read plenty of X-Men stuff, but not a ton. But the Wolverine Nightcrawler dynamic throughout the years in comics is probably one of my favorite relationships in the books. Just how they explored it and the friendship there. I always like good buddy stuff in comics, and I feel like that relationship and how it evolved over the years was really great. And I think that's part of why Nightcrawler's such a strong character. So cool choice. Zaf or Ryan, who wants to go?
I'd probably do just something because, kind of being a collector, what the crown jewel is. Like, you've made it a collector if you have fill in the blank,
Yeah.
So who's your favorite? You didn't say that yet.
Favorite X-Man.
Yeah.
I've always really liked Archangel. Yeah, I'd probably say Archangel. Not like the blondie hair one. It's got to be costumed up, blue,
Okay.
throwing shards.
Yeah.
But I think like a Bill Sienkiewicz, Calvin and Hobbes,
Nice. That's very good.
because it's tough to get one, very hard to get the other. Smash them together. I think it'd be really good.
I wonder
Have you
if
seen Sienkiewicz take on Asterix
Oh yeah,
mixed with?
I haven't seen it. No.
Oh, that's incredible.
Oh,
I will, as we're chatting here, Zaf, I'll try and pull that up if I can. That's the beauty of this.
I'm coming back at 8:30 on my own. By the way, that was not
cool. How about you, Zaf? You're up.
My favorite X-Men growing up was Gambit. I mean, besides Wolverine, was Gambit.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's
Because you could talk like him.
Yeah. No,
His English made sense.
It was, right in the 90s, when I really started to get into X-Men. So it was, the Shin Lee era.
yeah.
And yeah, Gambit was such a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the, like when he was released, it was like, it wasn't one of those campy 90s new characters. You know how like Strong Guy came out, Guido, like this was like a legit new X-Man. Like Gambit was cool.
Yeah.
Octavio says Bishop for him.
Oh really? He probably had that curly mullet too.
There's some really good suggestions on the comments, actually.
Yeah, like the Magnola. Yeah, Ryan liked the Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. So who would you get drawn and by whom?
I think I need some time on that, especially because it's living, and you already use Miller and Sienkiewicz.
Yeah, we did that on purpose, by the way. We had the question ahead of time.
So I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna need to get back to you on that. I really think it's true.
Yeah, I know. Like, he's got to give some time with that. That's a heavy question, Cam.
I know.
Oh, cool.
What is this?
That's the one you're talking about, Zaf?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's an amazing piece.
Mm-hmm.
Asterix by Sienkiewicz. Yeah, there's a colored version too. I was just kind of doing a quick Google, so I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, but I love the black and white inks.
Yeah, that's pretty perfect. It's funny too because stylistically, you wouldn't have thought. Well, with a lot of stuff he does stylistically, you don't think that it's it would work.
Shouldn't
but,
work.
no.
Shouldn't work, right?
Yeah.
When I was a
Okay.
kid, I just want to say a little bit about Asterix and Obelix. When I was a kid, I think I read all of those in elementary.
Really?
Yeah, which was, I think some of them were only available in French, actually, in our school.
Just to make it that much harder.
Well, yeah, that was probably the last time. Oh,
Glob.
Maria. She said she had another question earlier about hats, and yes,
Cam and his Napoleon Dynamite hair.
yeah.
I am not getting all these questions.
Questions. It's 8:13 p.m. Cam, I was starting to think it was compulsory for Canadians to wear caps. Little do you know that is a cap. It's just clear.
I hit a dead zone between 8:09 and 8:15, so I didn't see any of those. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
I still can't see them.
Carlos is right. There's no way that Cam's hair could fit in a baseball cap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So I got a question for Zap right now. Like, how natural is it drawing like the metallic surface and stuff like that on Colossus? Do you already know what you're going to do?
No, not really. I usually just approach metallic surfaces as I would normal surfaces, but use a lot more reflection on the shadows, and then do
Okay.
some effects on top of that.
So with that, do you start with like a light source, or you just like it's going to be coming from everywhere? You're just going to go till it looks good.
I actually wanted to go with the upper light source, so
Oh yeah.
I can go darkening. I can go dark as I go down on the piece, and then add some machinery and cables and
Oh, cool.
fluids from the.
Mike's
I don't know.
machete.
I don't know if you can. Yeah, exactly. I don't think you can see it in the, in a bunch of oil. Yeah. There's a destroyed Sentinel on the background.
Oh yeah. You can see the outlines of it.
Right. So it's kind of coming out of it. We'll see how
Very
it goes.
cool.
You should
Sentinel
just
gas.
yeah.
Sentinel gas.
David will be fine if you just like grab a handful Amelia's sparkles and just like throw it on the piece. Like put some glue on it and then just sparkles. That'll give it that metallic feel. So David, just let us know if you're cool with that. And if we don't hear from you, we'll just presume you are. So
can you put a little tiny folio that says Arthur Adams Jam on the corner in the bottom?
I think you should bedazzle it. You should definitely bedazzle it.
Yeah. So Reba's talking about Glob. I had to look it up. I forgot who Glob was.
Like, he doesn't sound like he had many issues where he showed up.
He actually showed up in the book we're talking about today, which I didn't know. I too cheated. The power of the internet is with us.
Yeah. Here's Glob.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Who doesn't want to be the human candle, right? Oh.
It's funny because speaking of cool requests this week, Dylan got a request for, I'm just going to confirm it here, some Golden Age public domain characters, and one of them looks a lot like Glob here. And I apologize, I'm just making sure I don't say something that doesn't make sense.
I don't understand the word you said.
Nightmare and Sleepy.
So public domain means that, like, what does that mean? Like the rights haven't been renewed and anybody can draw them? It's like Popeye in Canada versus Popeye in the States?
Yeah, and you can, I think you can use those characters to, publish something and make money off of it. I think it, like a lot of those old stories, I think are public domain where you see multiple properties taking on the same character. And I don't know if like Tarzan's public domain or like the Jungle Book, but yeah, I think a lot of that stuff does. Whoops. Sorry, I meant to hit on Dylan's and I believe.
What's your favorite X-Men? Are you going to answer the question?
Oh yeah.
You get to avoid your own questions.
I'd say Colossus. Probably Colossus, because I liked when I was a kid when Colossus and Juggernaut showed up in the cartoon. If we're talking bad guys, is something else, because we'd probably say like
those guys aren't X-Men.
Yeah, because that Sabretooth, Magneto, Juggernaut, all those guys. Mind you,
Apocalypse.
All five, well, three of those guys were actually, I guess all of them kind of were X-Men at some point. More so like Magneto, Sabretooth, and juggernaut. And then the artist and an obscure choice.
This isn't fair. We should be able to ask you a random question that you
Exactly.
aren't allowed
That's
to
what I
hear.
was thinking.
Mike, yeah, you ask Cam something.
You
He's
think?
acting like he's thinking about it.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
knows the
He just,
questions.
he just can't read his own writing. That's the issue.
No. Well, I think I mentioned this before. Is Warwick? I've got him doing something really not obscure for me, but something fairly like off the beaten path. So that's what made me think of it. And beyond that request with Warwick, it's like I have no idea.
Oh, Death plus 50 years. Ryan commented on in the bottom.
Oh yeah, okay. I was wondering what he mentioned it here. He went a little deeper into it, and we're gonna get Ryan on one of these because he's got a unique perspective and education on a bunch of stuff that we don't know in the industry. So
yeah.
Well, I did know it was at least 60 years, but I didn't know it was life plus 50. I thought that just
At least, yeah.
changed.
I don't know if the states can hold rights or what the deal is. Is it just creators?
No, I think that's the whole point is the estate, because if you die, then who cares from your perspective, right?
Oh,
that's interesting.
Huh. So I guess what we're saying there is, like Dylan said, the the first Conan author died over 50 years ago.
no, James Heron is still alive.
I don't know that.
Anyway,
like 95% of your jokes, that was lost on me.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you after.
Yeah, with a pencil and.
Yeah. So what's your answer then, Cam? You shouldn't even have to delay. We should have this right now.
Yeah, we're almost at 8:30. Ryan can answer.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't even been thinking. Okay.
That's ridiculous. I'm trying to think. It'd be a movie character of some sort. I think, well, this is just me stalling more, but Adam Gorham did a really cool Once Upon a Time in Hollywood convention piece in Saskatoon last year. And it was outstanding. And I just started watching that last night. So I would do probably one of the bad guys from Mandy. And I would get like Zaff to do it.
Yeah.
Zaff, have you seen Mandy?
Yeah, I love it.
What?
You didn't like it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it because it looked too scary.
Well, then why are you surprised?
Really, really slow, but I think the just visuals of it and the mood it sets, I think that was enough for me. I loved it.
Yeah, it's this surreal, like its own world entirely. It just takes you to a different place.
What about Jeff Darrow doing like a blueprint of Megatron?
Oh, that's nice.
See,
Yeah.
You
What
just
I really want to see him from Shelf Darrow.
Yeah.
He did a commissioned artwork for the Sean Wick movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
they say to him, do whatever you want. You have a free pass. Do whatever you want, and they rejected it afterwards, and he can't show it to anyone.
Really?
Because of an NDA.
No way.
I think that's what I would like to see.
Movie poster. Yeah, I think a classic movie poster would be super neat.
it's funny what Zaff brings that up because if, like, it's John Wick, if it's too violent for the John Wick people, like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
I kind of remember that is very
Maybe John
weird.
Wick's losing.
Unless it's something very taboo, but
Yes.
or it's an NDA, so maybe they're using it to for John Wick 17 or whatever they're at, right?
Yeah.
Is it 4?
John Wick, yeah.
4, I think would be the next one.
Dylan, yeah, we're in the comments. We got an obscure character idea.
Yeah, well, I was having some chats with Dylan on Instagram today, and yeah, he was showing me some cool stuff. But yeah, let's hear Dylan. Or there's some vultures in the crowd, and
yeah, be careful with what you tell people.
Yeah, because they'll run with it.
Oh, look, Dylan logged off.
Especially if Octavio or Carlos needs a new theme here. Sexy Batman theme is he's got that one done. So
with Tila from He-Man, April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles.
This is a safe place, guys. Everybody can share.
That's right.
This is where it gets official. What are we at? Like 17 views right now? 17 viewers? That's enough for a.
Remember when we used to do this in restaurants when that was allowed and nobody would care?
Yeah.
Oh, Jay just hopped on. He's our number 9. Hey, Jay.
Number 9. We're almost double digits.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we here for today, Cam?
Yeah.
Well. Oh, and yeah, I will, Dylan. I just got to move it to the files here. Then I'll show it off. Vlad did something really cool for Dylan, so we'll show that one here shortly. But yeah, it's time for some unbiased book reviews from Mike's got some swagger today that I think
Zinger Zimmerman, yeah,
and it's shades of like 26-year-old Mike, and we all know what that guy was like. He
was in the news. The only thing sharper than his machete are his words.
Okay, Mike, what are you reviewing for us today?
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Ryan's going to go double up and create a fake account. That's nice. And if us 4 count as part of the 9, that's terrible.
It's all about the quality, and I think our quality of just the streamers and the participants in the groups, it's pretty high. Mm-hmm.
So normally we talk about what we're drinking at these things, and tonight I'm drinking Dandy. Ooh, that's terrible. I don't have enough light. Dandy in the Underworld, which is an oyster stout from Dandy Brewing Company here in Calgary. It's got kind of a salty flavor to it, so it's kind of nice that way. It's 14 degrees Celsius. What's that? 60, 63 in Fahrenheit. So it's pretty warm here today. So this is a nice touch.
Nice Stein.
I'm drinking it out of a Stein from Stanley that Ryan bought me. So
quarantine Stein.
That's my quarantine Stein. Yeah, I let it sit outside and get Lysoled by UV.
What was the name of that beer? Danny in the Underworld?
Dandy in the Underworld. Yeah, it's from Danny.
That sounds like something Octavio would be drinking.
Yeah, actually, Octavio and I would get along great, I think.
You did last week.
That's right. But I mean in person, when that's allowed again.
That's true.
Yeah. So, yeah, tonight we're reviewing House of X and Powers of X, right? Or Power of X. And Powers. So that was there's going to be some spoilers. I'm going to try and warn people.
Ornstein, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. There may be some spoilers. I should warn people ahead of time because I didn't do that last time. I forgot that's a thing. But yeah, it was a 6-book series in each. And then they just took the deck and they meshed them. And if you can hear that in the background, my wife has decided to vacuum at 8:30 at night.
Well, the good news is she's vacuuming.
It sounds like the dog by the noise he's making.
I hope that's the dog.
Yeah, so Powers of X and House of X came out with John Hickman and a number of artists. And initially, my favorite part about it was like, oh, this reminds me of a non-mainstream. So Dylan just said, he said, go ahead and spoil it, but I won't. I'll do my best.
Dylan, how deep are you into it? Because I feel like so many of the the stuff that is spoilery is kind of in those first like 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah, so don't worry about it getting better.
No.
Yeah, that's where all the concepts are kind of introduced.
See, and I don't agree with that. I think like the way you read it with, this one, then this one, then 2 of these, and then this one, and this one, right? Like, one, I really like that style. I imagine you could have just done it as a series of 12 and issued them every 2 weeks or something like that. But it was probably a neat concept for Marvel to do 2 at a time. So again, I don't know a lot of the characters, but having this character Moira, who plays a big role in most of it, and for as far as I can tell, she had like, is she in the Marvel universe previously?
She's like a D-lister. Like she's basically like a panel filler. Yeah.
Right. Well, she plays a really big role in this, and that's pretty cool. And I like it. I don't think it's until you get to like the 4th issue of each that it all starts to make sense how they're laying it out, and having the multiple timelines that overlap and how they all relate back to Moira really was impressive. I started saying it earlier. I want to come back to that, but this book really, one of the things I liked about it was there'd be amazing art in it, and then there'd be just a whole page of just writing, or it's like a table and it says, this is this
flowchart. Yeah.
Yeah, and there'd be flowcharts, and there'd be all sorts of these neat little like side panels, almost like pages of them. And I was like, oh, this reminds me of Pax Romana. I really like this style. And then I didn't realize till I finished it that Jonathan Hickman wrote House of X, Powers of X, and Pax Romana. And I was like, so I really like Jonathan Hickman's style, right?
Yep.
So there's multiple timelines. I really enjoy the part where X-Men go and do some business out in outer space without ruining things. And
the 3rd issue of House of X, yeah.
What's that, sir?
The 3rd issue of the House of X was one of the best modern comics I had read in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the way they wrap that up and how the characters finalize in that issue, I guess is what I want to say. And I just thought it was really fitting. And then the book kind of falls apart for me for a couple issues after that. Yes, I agree with David. That is the best issue in the series. And then after that, it falls apart, and I was like, oh, they kind of jumped the shark here for a bit. But then I realized that's Jonathan Hickman's style, and then it all comes around at the end. And one of the biggest things that I took out of it is, and maybe this is just me, but I've always looked at the mutants as like, this is humans, and then the mutants are like the next evolution of humans, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like that's watching
Almost superior. Yeah.
Taking it that way, right?
That's where you are. You're a mutant. I put you in that category too.
I do too.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. You're. But the way the book plays that, and it's like, not only are there sentinels in there that are trying to always getting more powerful and destroying mutants, but then they become obsolete, maybe.
Yeah. Because they refuse to acknowledge what they could provide. So I actually feel like it's an allegory to just being exceptional in general.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk allegories here. So there's all these.
Yes, your word. Yeah. You
could see where this could be a talk. Yeah, where Jonathan Hickman would use this as an allegory about any injustice and picking on one thing, and then until the point that it's irrelevant, and it's like, well, why did the more superior or more abundant waste energy on this? Because it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. You're right. Like I felt. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say I'm right there with My superpower is believing I will live forever, so I just push everything. Future me is really productive. Anyway, the art in the book I thought was really interesting. I like the use of light in it.
It was disappointing because it was all digital too. So for collectors, there wasn't any original art component to that at all.
Really?
Yeah. So like the biggest, I guess the biggest thing that was released was there like a 1-of-1 print where they made like a digital print, and they had promised to do only one print of a panel page, but everything was done digitally, including the covers. So there's no original art to that series at all.
Oh, and that's interesting because of the story of House of X, Powers of X, I guess, is about like this transition to transhumanism, right?
Yeah, artist truths. There's no. Sorry. Anyway, I'm reading the comments. I'm interrupting you, Mike. It's you have the talking stick. You have the talking machine.
This should be a dialogue, right? Because go on, right?
Yeah. No, it's I don't know. Like I think that they would have known that this would have been such a formative initial run for the X-Men, like a relaunch of them, and I don't know why they wouldn't have made the art traditional. Like the people involved they know what's going on. Like I don't think there's a rush to get it done. So right. I think it was a big mistake. Like I think that the royalties on it are probably going to be great, but it still involves Disney. But yeah, maybe it was just. Do you think that they could have done that art traditionally and had the same impact as because you like the art? So your comment on the art. Next.
I mean, I think they could have, not knowing any of the effort that it takes to build these comics from the ground up, but in either method, I think they could have done this like a Frank Miller Deadpool or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
But maybe that's a better question for Gerardo. Like doing 2 issues every month, is that possible with a limited number of artists?
What do you think happens, Zaf? Why do you think they went digital?
I have no idea. I don't want to assume anything because I have no idea. But there's guys nowadays that won't do traditional art anymore. So
yeah,
I don't know. Everybody has different opinions about it. I think it's a tool. Digital art. It doesn't mean it's gonna be good. It doesn't mean it's gonna be bad. I feel sad that there's not original art from that work because it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think even with
I can begin to to assume what happened. Why there isn't any. I thought there was a couple of covers that were.
I think. I don't know if Pepe did any traditional covers on that one, but he did those when Brisson and Dylan Burnett did relaunch the X-Force series. Pepe did those. I don't know. He did like 3 or 4 of those traditionally.
Well,
and those are
the same thing with X-Men too. Like Lionel Yu did X-Men #1, and that's the only cover he did traditionally too. Okay. On that fantastic rep site, Quan Chang. If you haven't gone and seen Quan Chang's artist stable, it's fantastic.
Hey. No free promo, Ryan. Or Quan.
Well, it's not free. He's already paid me.
Okay. Then it's okay then. No, that's all good. Well, and yeah, Quan's got a great roster, and Lionel is pretty awesome. I've always really liked his work in the X-Men universe, especially. And it's kind of interesting. We talk about Pepe, because Pepe especially, and David who's talking about Pepe, David got me onto him in our group. Like David was kind of onto him a while ago and commissioned him and got some art, and House of X really felt like his coming out party.
Yeah.
His work is just outstanding. Like he felt like really one of those go-to big 2 guys, like kind of the next big thing. It's unfortunate for collectors that there's not traditional stuff to go off of, but at the same time too, if you can commission Pepe or find something traditional from him, it's still phenomenal.
It could be that, like, I don't know if is Pepe repped by somebody that'd be pushing for that. I don't know. So
yeah, it's hard to tell. He was. We saw him in New York, and he's doing some washes, some head sketches and stuff. And I know David's got actual full size commissions from him in the past. Someone might have to educate me on what he's currently doing, because I don't know. I've kind of been out of the loop. Anyone
maybe
know?
He's probably knighted by Disney, so he doesn't have to worry about money for the rest of his life.
I have a question about this House of X, Powers of X. Was that just like a one arc and it was done? It was just like a.
No, they've relaunched them. Yeah, like it's the current continuity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So now it's filling in some of the time gaps, I guess, with.
Well, it's proceeded from the end, I think, including some very controversial moves on some of the characters, like a open relationship between everyone's favorite Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I could see that actually, because there's a section when they're on the moon base. And you're like, what's going on here? But I didn't want to, ask.
Yeah, he had a bunch of new takes on characters. Like Professor X was totally different. Mr. Sinister was wildly flamboyant, which was super cool. I'm not sure I like this kind of. I think there's a few things you do not change, and everybody's happy with how that is for forever. I think it's just for the sake of being controversial. And one of them is, I don't think you open up the relationship, the dynamic between Cyclops and Wolverine.
Yeah, that was an interesting.
Well, that's actually an interesting survey we could ask everybody on here. Is there any part of canon that's
untouchable?
Untouchable, exactly.
Well, let's go around the room. Are we talking X-Men canon?
Well, how about we just talk about what would make you really upset if they decided to take a creative license with something?
Yeah, so let's go with let's simplify it with X-Men. We'll say, is there anything X-Men related that you would prefer they don't touch, or would make you
Wolverine being Canadian?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, for us too, and as weird as that sounds, Wolverine being Canadian is important to Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's iconic, and not just because he's such a cool character, and for us, it's kind of in that lore of like Gretzky's ours, Bret Hart's ours.
Do you know what's really interesting is they were talking about. I saw a tweet the other day. I think it was Mandy asking if there was any DC characters that are Canadian or have Canadian roots. And Jirads responded with, yeah, Adam Strange was, but we changed that. So like DC doesn't have any Canadian characters at all.
Well, and I guess initially Superman.
Yeah, well, he was created, but he was born in Kansas, right? Like he had a Canadian creator.
Well, that's true. I think the initial idea was that Metropolis was framed after Toronto, but
right.
But yeah, no, you're right. That's interesting. I didn't know that about Adam Strange.
I think we know the Superman thing. Remember, he's not of this planet.
That's true. Yeah. So he's from where Carlos is from.
Yeah. Typically, he doesn't get a passport from any of us. So.
Yeah.
Carlos says we have Justin Bieber, which is very.
We
true.
actually tried to get you to. We said, who did we say that we would take? We said we'd take somebody in exchange.
I think it was Jim Lee for Justin Bieber. I think it was something like that.
Oh, by the way, before we go any further, can we have a moment of silence for the epic weekend that we should be having right now?
Yeah, well, and there was things I wanted to address with that too. Well, Ryan, do you want to tell everyone what you mean by that?
Yeah, this weekend was supposed to be Calgary Fan Expo, and it was actually going to be quite the roster. Like Arthur Adams was coming, Jim Lee was coming, but most of all, Gerardo was coming. So it's going to be part 2 in the trilogy of Deadlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. We're not going anywhere, Gerardo. We're actually Sanctuary. So.
Dude, I'm still sad about that. I'm so.
Don't. It's okay. Like, you know what? We're going to plan even more.
We'll eventually get there, but
Yeah.
it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, like Jim Lee actually had a big post today about Calgary too, because it's also his wife's birthday. And they were going to do a bunch of stuff around, and yeah, we all had very big plans for this weekend. It would have been this show would have been a lot more interesting.
Well, I think one thing too with a lot of people, because a lot of our collecting group doesn't necessarily come to Calgary for an art show, but this year especially with the roster and just, you know, it seemed like there was this big creator focus, but just people coming to Calgary, I think, take advantage of coming to a show like this, especially if you're an art collector, because there's amazing art to be had just because there isn't a ton of collectors rooting around, you know, picking stuff up. Calgary's always been a little easier to get on lists, you know, always a little more art to be had. It's a Canadian dollar, so Americans coming down. But even just to come spend 2 days at the con and then 2 days in the mountains, you know, it's always tons of people come to this show. But I know this year we had some extracurricular activities planned, you know, with all the crew coming down. So just an open invite to anyone listening. Come down to the show. It's a lot of fun, and we'll make sure we all have a good time together. So
it took a pandemic to stop us.
Yeah. That's true. And we'd make sure if Zaf came down that he wouldn't be working on Colossus right now for David.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupt. You probably want to talk about that later.
Yeah.
I think all plans were officially canceled.
Carlos, if we could go to Stampede, we would invite you, but it's been canceled.
It's been canceled.
It's not a house of lies.
I've decided, though, I can reenact Stampede effectively in my backyard.
Oh.
Which part of Stampede, Mike? Because there's elements that I don't want you to reenact in your backyard.
I can stand around in the rain for 2 hours. I can pay Jackie $25 a beer.
You can burn money. Yep.
Yeah. I can throw my keys in the eaves trough so I can't get back in the house. I can pee on my own fence.
Yep.
I can order skip the dishes.
6 times.
Yeah. I could spill a bunch of it on myself. I could roll down the sidewalk, like log roll, and wreck my clothes. And then just sleep on the concrete behind the house. And then I'd be like, Tuesday night, right?
Yeah, that's day one.
Not even Tuesday night. Tuesday at 6 p.m. and you're dead.
And replace the your backyard with the lobby of the Westin.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
you had a question we didn't answer. I interrupted it. Canon that you can't touch.
Oh yeah. Well, Ryan, yours was good, so I can't use that one.
What was it? I wasn't paying attention.
Wolverine being Canadian.
I see. I like that they mix, match, and redo things all the time.
But the thing is like this is like a rooted thing that I took pride in from being 9 years old on, right?
Right. Wolverine, Canadian. Okay. I could really, I guess.
Swamp Thing wasn't vegan.
Yeah. He eats alligators.
Mr. Miracle is just normal.
Well, no, so there you go. Their background really can't change too much, right? Like you can, I guess that's part of it, because that's the whole reason you're into that character. Like even Superman, right? Like he's essentially a god on human earth. But he has this sense of empathy and like integrity that he got growing up as a kid in Kansas, right? So I guess they did that with Red Sun, and that was a great book. So
yeah, like an Elseworld thing is fine, but then there's like the fundamental switch. And that, like, you knew that was a standalone thing, because there's no way Superman stays Russian.
Or does
Yeah.
maybe.
Anyone else? No?
Geez, that's a really good question. It's hard because
Like, what about, like Batman being poor?
yeah,
Like,
or even
there's
like
things that don't make sense, but there's things where it's like, okay, this will make me stop reading comics.
how long was Jean Grey dead for after the Phoenix?
It's a great question.
Because that seemed like something like almost like the Gwen Stacy thing. Like she should almost be one of those characters that remains dead.
I almost find it more offensive that with non-events, with like feeling like they're taking your money and then something doesn't happen.
Like Batman getting married.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, no disrespect to the creators on that, but you know, there was so much hype around the original art in the book. People were just shelling out money for this stuff because it was this event piece.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't happen in that issue.
So what happened with Superman? Like when he died, was there enough public outrage that they brought him back to life, or was that always the plan? I don't remember.
I think it was always the plan. I was really young, and I remember reading that story. It would actually be interesting. We should bring Byron on, and when we do a DC one, maybe Byron can speak to it because Byron reps Tom Grummett, and Tom's involvement in that stuff. You could probably give some really cool editorial insight to that.
Definitely, yeah. So like, it's funny that this comes up now because I find that the new writing for the X-Men is, I don't know. Like I feel like there's too much liberty being taken with some of the canon.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I only read the first issue of Lionel's stuff. It's interesting. Some dynamics are cool, like Cyclops and even Xavier, when they kind of turn them into sociopaths.
Yeah.
At various points. And I'm like, I feel like that's a good direction to take because they would be,
Yeah.
Even just how they kind of evolved over the years.
Well, like, how do you write somebody that's so smart without being too obvious? Like, okay, they must see something that I can't. And that's the best part is like Professor, like Xavier saying things and you're assuming there's some underlying logic that you just can't comprehend. You're like, okay, this is writing a super genius really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so when Mike talks and I don't understand him, I think that it's just well beyond me.
No, it's because I'm gibberish.
And you got a machete.
Right.
Well, so did Zaf answer the question, or do you want more time, Zaf? Is there any canon you want you wouldn't want to change, X-Men or anything?
I think I like when I like what ifs. I like canon changes, and I think everyone. I mean, I used to say that I didn't want some things touched, especially with characters I grew up loving. But I think in the end, if it's done well, I don't mind any changes to canon. So,
like if they could write Conan being a psychologist well.
Exactly, but it's well done and it's a proper psychology.
Conan the librarian.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Now, I mean, inside the logic stuff for a character.
Yeah, it's got to be like you wouldn't have. Why am I drawing all blanks right now?
Like I can think of the most
face. That just doesn't make sense, right? You wouldn't have Daredevil face.
Yeah, or you have Garth Ennis write, Superman, and he's flying around in blackface. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop there. But like, it's funny because like, you remember? I don't know if things affect kids like they used to affect us growing up. Because I remember the most traumatic thing in the world was watching the Transformers movie and Optimus Prime dying. Like
What?
that was like, yeah, in the movie Optimus Prime died.
I don't remember that at all.
Well, you were watching the GoBots commercials. But like there was like it was such a simple thing, and it was the first movie and you didn't see it coming at all. But I don't know if there's things like that out there that are so ingrained in the younger generation where if it happened, like SpongeBob is, I don't know, suddenly dried out, and well, I guess he's still a sponge, but too
Well,
wet.
I think. Well, speaking of that, is Grimlock the bad guy in that movie or no?
Yeah, he's the bad guy, and Quentin Tarantino directed. This is his first movie. Yep.
For anyone watching, Ryan and my friendship was before it began because I didn't know.
I don't remember reacting that poorly. I think because we're just so sensitive.
I think Mike was probably poking the bear in the background. Meanwhile, he was saying God only knows what about Megatron. But yeah, there was the one thing I want to talk about too, and it's not guys who, on top of us being, these guys being legendary creators. I know that the guys in this room, we have the utmost respect for Frank Miller and Jim Lee. But I think what happened with All-Star Batman and Robin was Frank turned Batman into a sociopath, full on, like almost a psychopath. And I think that, and I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent. And Zaf, you're probably the biggest Frank Miller fan here. I'm curious your take on that, because it was kind of jarring the first time I read that. Did you like it, or were you kind of confused by the direction?
I actually liked it. I actually did. But as a fun read, and a one-off thing, I wouldn't like to have the character turned that way in canon. But I think it was fun for one-off, and it didn't pretend to be anything else that it was. It was just a fun story. It was.
You think that it's because? Do you think that it was because it was Jim's Hush follow-up, right?
I think so. It was around that time.
I think that they were expecting kind of Jim's next project rather than thinking that Miller was going to do something wild. And that's why it was exceptionally, because you're like, oh, hey, Hush was so great. Can't wait to see Jim draw Batman again. What the fuck is going on?
Well, there is memorable stuff from that. Like when him making fun of Green Lantern in that.
I thought it was a fun story, dude.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like you got the whole people reading comics on the stage with this coming out. Frank Miller's like, I got everyone's attention. Watch this.
Well, and I think too, Jim's work on that was stunning, even for what it was. Like even the I'm the goddamn Batman or those scenes. The artwork on that book was incredible.
Yeah.
We don't have to get too much into it. David brings up the Watchmen TV show. We wrote the Watchmen canon. Well, David, chime in. How much of the canon was actually rewritten there? That wasn't just continued in a different direction. Like, was there any canon? Has everyone here seen the Watchmen show?
Yeah, I have.
Yep. But I haven't reread it recently. Then I think my first fault the last time I read it like a simple comic. I wasn't doing what he does with literature, so I didn't get enough of what was happening. So you guys could probably speak better to it than I can.
Yeah,
I think it was a kind of a continuation of the story. I didn't see
like Dr. Manhattan. I don't like. Is that continuity? Like is Doctor?
Yeah, well, you just don't know. Like I think the story ends and the show picks up where it begins. It definitely goes in a direction that
30 years later.
That I don't think Alan Moore would have gone in. Like it definitely goes in a direction that wasn't.
I hope that's what the brush ends at.
I'm sorry.
Your Colossus Commission's got a little DNA on it, David.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was an interesting direction. It felt a lot more definitive in its direction than maybe the book originally. It left so much open and so much unfinished business and so much what's going to happen now, whereas the show felt very definitive.
Tons of prequel, tons of backstory, right? So,
yeah. But in saying that, I think the Watchmen TV series did a perfect job, because that would have been so easy to screw up.
But the thing that I liked about the Watchmen is they made crazy realistic. Like, they had people that were absolute in beliefs that didn't seem like they were wild or out of touch. So you were seeing things like the Rorschach clan. You're like, I kind of identify with that, but it's extremism in the story, right? So this felt like there was some very stark lines that were very similar to in the Watchmen, right? Like, I believe this, and like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. So I felt that the writing for the TV series it did justice to the original.
Well, it's interesting. We got some comments here. Vic notes that the atmosphere is different.
Yeah,
but I haven't watched the shows, so I'll keep it.
I was very surprised at the quality of the show, and
I think I need to read the book again. Actually,
I think that the other thing that's kind of underrated is everybody says it's like Alan Moore's Watchmen, but Brian Mullen did a fantastic job with illustrating that, right? Like, there was a lot of technical things in that run that I think are underappreciated. So visually, it was perfect. It was astounding, right? So,
sorry, you meant Dave Gibbons.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
that's okay.
I got confused.
For whatever reason,
they actually are the same person. I don't know if you know this.
I use those interchangeably too for some weird reason.
Dave Gibbons. Yeah, sorry. I'm just looking at some of his original art over here, so sorry.
Ryan's just flexing on us. Speaking of which, we'll continue the conversation, guys. I like this. This is good. But it's the Saturday Night Art Show and the Saturday Night Art Adams Show this week. Personally, I think he's probably the greatest living comic artist, or at least he sits on the top of the mountain with a few other guys.
Like the guy to your left.
The guy to my left.
I wish.
So let's move on there. Keep the conversation going, guys. Especially the comments is really good.
So why don't you talk about the thing I like about this artist is I think that he's improved over time.
I couldn't agree more. I think how he's changed stylistically over time has created an aesthetic that is almost, it's unmatched. It's almost impossible, what he does and what he's capable of doing and producing at such an insanely high level.
I don't know if you can zoom in at all. Like, this is tough to do. Like, I don't know if I need to kind of like.
And Ryan, I have the scan for that too, so I'll pop that up after.
Okay, well, I'll kind of go over it. So go ahead.
I couldn't agree more. That's a great point. I think Arthur is just continuing to produce at such an insane level. He's such a just genuine person as well. Like, you meet him at shows, you see what he's doing. He's just got this otherworldly talent. And I talk about talent every time I say it, and having this crazy amount of talent, I also mean that these guys have worked thousands of hours at their craft. So it's the hard work and talent, but I really do think Arthur is, he's on top of the mountain, whether he's alone.
Like, that's the thing. It's like he decides to work big all the time, right?
So, and Ryan, if you want to speak to this piece, I'm just going to try and
handle the public
a bit, which is good, because Brian asks, where did you guys first find his art? And I posed that question to everyone in the group. Oh, Rob's on now too. I'll kind of get to what Vic's talking about too. About the we're talking about the death piece that's going to be on eBay, or it is.
Sorry.
But let's talk about this piece for a second, Ryan.
So this is from. So War of the Realms was like I guess a short limited series in the making for, what was it, like it was a long time. Jason Aaron's run on Thor, right?
Yeah.
So the thing with Arthur is that usually he's a variant cover artist, where he does something and it's published as a variant all over the place because his stuff is, it's iconic, as it's him, and it's so visually stunning that you want it on the front of a comic book, right? So he did all of the covers, not variants, for the War of the Realms run, and this is the cover for War of the Realms #2. So the funny thing is with Arthur's art it's tough to get because he can be pretty hard to get a hold of, and he doesn't have an art rep, right? Hint, hint, Cam, I don't know how you do that. But yeah, so he kind of handles it on his own, and he's got some collectors that he stays in touch with that'll just buy stuff sight unseen, right? Because it's, you're going to get consistency and quality every time. So with this cover, I got really lucky because his first show last year was in Vancouver, and I had done a favor for a couple other collectors, and he had brought these pieces with him, and it was available. So it would have been gone at the first con of the year. But I managed to scoop it, and it's huge. Like I didn't bring out a regular sized comic book. Let's see, what do I got in here? Oh, I got this fancy trade I can use to kind of give you the scale, right? So this seems to be standard fare for Arthur. And the thing I liked about this one is you do not see him draw Punisher very often. So
this is one of the few times.
You can kind of see, like, it's kind of neat because there's a bunch of liner notes that you wouldn't see on the cover, and detail, like the blue lines with how he does things. It's really neat. And I hate to tell you, but this does have a new home in the next year. So.
Oh geez, yeah. This one's challenging too, Ryan, because so I have the scan in front of me, but the first time I saw this piece in person when you showed us, I couldn't believe it. Like it.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. The scans are all the same size, but.
What size is it? Like 22 by.
I think it's 16 by 24. Like, I'll let you stare at it, and I'll go get a tape measure right now.
So Dylan asked the question there. What's that red?
That's the red line. That's a pencil.
Okay.
It might be ink. I'll double check.
Oh, it's
It might be his blood.
I think it's
Micron,
right?
You might have used a Micron fine liner. I thought originally it was. Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah,
it's cherry. It's cherry. So this bad boy is, paper's 24, art area is probably 23 in a bit, and there's only one thing longer than the next measurement. So it's 16 and a half across, or 16 and a quarter. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an outstanding piece.
Scratch and sniff. You want to know what this smells like? Just kidding. The scratch and sniff comment.
So here's the quick scan of that, guys. It's crazy. It's Arthur. It's madness. War of the Realms is. I think this is probably that double pager that he did for #1. But that was sold almost immediately, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah, and that's like there's not the conventional market for it. Like it kind of there's some, like I said, there's some deep pocketed collectors that unequivocally, if it's going to be a great piece, they'll take it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. I'm scratch and sniff too. So yeah, I love this piece #1 because it's fantastic. I thought the red was a really cool touch, and it had some characters you don't see him draw very often. Because I can imagine that he's probably pretty bored with Wolverine in that stance. So And looking at it, there's no cop out anywhere. Like, it's all corner to corner.
Well, and that's the thing.
Details.
Has anyone seen Arthur mail it in? Like, even on like a con sketch or anything, he just never mails it in. It's just like, I don't know how he does it. Even, and we talked about the death thing. The boys on the chat, Vic brought it up, and then Rob talked about it too. Like, he tried some new things stylistically.
The frisket was really interesting with the paint.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we were talking about that, and it's interesting with Arthur and that tight, ink rendering to try a new technique, which I thought he did quite well. And Ryan, you were talking about it, that your preference is typically that Arthur rendering with the inks versus, what he was doing there. Have you kind of thought about it a bit more? Is it still kind of, you still prefer Arthur when he does his thing?
Well, like, you're going to see some, there's the next example that doesn't have the same detail to it.
Yeah.
But because the inks are so, I don't know, deep and detailed.
Yeah.
That, like, there's the two styles. Like, you just can't get it from the scan, right? So, visually, there's like a lot of the collectors that reach out really like the next piece I'm going to show, I think, just because it's represented better as a scan, whereas you will never get the full impression of Arthur's detail unless it's in person.
Right.
And you know that too, because I hope you're going to drop the big longhorn at the end of this.
We'll see.
What do you mean we'll see?
Well, it's here. I wasn't gonna, but
I figured
I might get asked.
I'm asking you right now. Like, I'm not going to show another piece unless you promise to do it.
Yeah, no, I will. It's right here. I moved it upstairs. I can move it now that you gave me that giant top loader.
For the 4 people watching or reading right now, it's the best piece Arthur's ever done. Cam has it. I'm getting choked up.
Well,
I don't have a big tape measure for his piece, so.
Well,
yeah, anyway.
And we'll get to that, because I obviously have certain people to thank for helping me get that, Ryan.
Well, I'm in it.
You're in it. You're in it 3 times. You're the Sentinels.
Yeah.
But we talk about this because this guy right here, in terms of doing some different things stylistically, or this guy, he's doing a self-portrait, did some paints this week, and they were stunning. Saf. We won't show those to the general public. I don't think you shared anything, but
do you mean the watercolors?
Yeah.
I haven't. I never finished it. That's why I didn't post it. So,
man.
Outstanding.
Why do you say you don't like that piece? I don't understand. That's an amazing piece of art.
He's harder on himself than anybody.
What? Sorry.
You're harder on yourself than anybody I know.
Probably, yeah. But I wanted to play a bit more around with tones, and I'm not happy with the colors I got, because I'm getting used to the watercolors, and as you lay it down, it shows a color that it changes as it dries.
Oh.
So you need to get to know the colors a bit more.
He's got the blood of a Tyrannosaurus on his face instead of the blood of a, megalodon.
Right. So yeah, I need to experiment with them a bit more, but it was fun. It was fun, and I want to finish. I wasn't able to finish yet, but I will.
So that's an interesting question. It's like Arthur kind of sticks that change in I don't know, like media was new for him. Like everybody kind of wants him to stick in that style where Gerardo can pick up anything and he can do it all. Like sculpture. I want to see sculpture next.
Yeah.
Gerardo's not the only one who can do watercolors, I might add.
What's that? Oh yeah, that's true. Like there is somebody in Calgary that's going to give you a run for your money for that the championship.
I know.
Whenever you guys are ready for the unveiling of the latest art, let me know.
Yeah, yeah. So this is piece number 2 of Arthur that I have, and it's Captain America Annual number 8 recreation, and it's again same size as the last one. So I don't know if you remember the measurements. I think it was 24 by 16 and a half or whatever it was. And same thing, like this is the different type of Arthur art, right? Like it's, you see those deep inks, don't get that line by line detail, but at the same time, it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
I think he actually did these lines with his eyelashes. Yeah, Josh has chimed in because I have somebody hot on the heels of this piece, and I couldn't think of a happier collector home.
And so this started out as a commission and got turned into a cover, correct?
Yeah, Champions number 1, and I should pay tribute to the guy that pointed me in this direction, and that's Mr. Cam Jarvis. So I got this from a wonderful collector, Ray Bryan, who actually helped arrange my engagement. So that, you know, again, that's one of the cool things about these pieces is you're meeting some crazy people. But corner box, yeah, like there's a comment about corner box. Like, and this is hand letter. This is not a stat at all.
Really? So
Yeah.
when he's doing the, like, this is my naivety here, but when he's doing the lines, like the explosion lines in the background, is that just freehand?
Yeah, like there's nothing mechanical about this at all. Like he's probably got a ruler,
Right.
I would hope, but yeah, no, like each individual thing, like you can see blue hues underneath it, means that he's kind of laid it out. But like we're talking like the finest detail, and there's no whiteout. There's not a single drop of whiteout on this piece.
Yeah, that one's outstanding, and I think
Actually, I have actually never seen a piece of whiteout on any of Art's work.
yeah, he's meticulous.
I'm looking right now. I'm just actually kind of processing that. I didn't actually think about that right now.
One.
Yeah, like it ruins the taste. You can't have a scratch and sniff piece unless if you got whiteout on it, right?
Well, this piece is funny because you told me, I don't think you knew the proportions, and then you got it, and you're like, oh, this is way bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, this is kind of, this piece is right around when we first started talking about stuff, right?
Yeah, because that was the first Arthur, or did you get that in War of the Realms at the same time?
I got this. No, I got this in January, and the War of the Realms came after.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because when Megs and Tim were down from Calgary Expo, that's when
David, yeah.
Oh, Jack's up.
Oh, you're my child. He's running amok.
Focusing on each piece. Let's put the art back up. But yeah, like the size is, and if you're talking about true event wall power, this is the type of piece.
Well, it truly is, and I always say it about Arthur, and you know where he sits, and it's not just the books he's done, or the iconic characters he's done. If Arthur Adams had never done a book, and you bought that piece, and he did just simply that piece, the artistry is just undeniable, in what he presents. So,
and here's one where he was actually the title artist.
So Ryan, just hang on a sec. I'm just going to give folks a quick look at the scan. So this is just the scan. Again, these don't even come close to doing it justice. It's a decent scan, but like Ryan said, the piece is huge, and he's pretty outstanding. And so Ryan, I'll try and find the scan while you're talking about this piece, because the scan you sent me was actually for the double page.
Oh, whoops.
That's okay. I'll look for it while you're talking.
So this one which was kind of like once you get addicted to it, like it's in a frame. So I'll see if I can just kind of move some of this around. Okay, that doesn't work.
No, that's better. It's easier to see without the light directly on it.
Okay. Oh, I turned this off. Let's turn this off. Oh,
Ooh, that's
turn that off.
just so you
that doesn't work.
Set up his dining room as a art viewing place.
Yay, yeah, art. So yeah, this is the cover to Guardians of the Galaxy number 19, and he did the cover art for the entire run. So let's turn that. Oh, doesn't work either. Where's that light coming? Oh, that's my kitchen light. Anyway, this light. It's a unique piece because it's it's landscape. It's a gatefold cover. I don't know how you do this. Oh, there you go. We'll have to go with the revolving door ish. And it's, you're seeing like kind of the culmination of Marvel's biggest peeps. This is terrible. You can kind of see all of the browsing that I'm doing at the same time. Okay, I'll figure out how to do this one. But yeah, same thing. This one's actually bigger than the last two pieces. And it's, got I think, the baddest villain since Darth Vader for pop culture comics. Thanos.
That's Kirby Crackle right there, too.
That is Kirby Crackle. That's
Hey, I
true.
learned it.
Yeah, which is one of my favorite effects. I put it in my last two pieces. Actually, it's part of my signature now. Like, if I have to go sign for something, I put Kirby Crackle in it.
It takes forever.
Yeah. So, yeah, same thing. Like, it's an oversized piece. Came in a frame. Actually, the box that it came in is a piece of art itself. Oh, God. I even had time to set up today. There. So yeah, but the thing I like about this is it's a little bit more dynamic than what you see Art doing on some of his other stuff, but you still get all the crazy rendering that you wouldn't see otherwise. Like each white dot, I can't tell if it's in the negative or if he applied a white dot after for the stars. And there's probably, let's see if I can get up there. No, 10 billion of them. You tell me.
No, I think
what's on top? The black? I can actually see him tracing dots.
No, that's white ink.
Okay, thank you. I can't taste this one, Zaf, so I can't tell you.
What did Zaf say? I missed that.
He says white ink, so he used white ink on top of the black, Zaf?
That's impossible.
Yeah, at least for dots, but it's a deliberate thing, It's not a correction or anything.
It might actually be actual stars. Like he might actually put actual stars in there.
Right.
So yeah, this one had a companion that's stuck in France Customs right now, but yeah, this one it's something else. Like with the Kirby Crackle here, to how dynamic the whole thing is, and you have like an ensemble piece with all of the Guardians, but nobody's obstructing anybody, and it makes sense. Like the composition of it's fantastic.
I can't tell if Dylan's being making a joke.
How to show? Yeah, it is. It could be. It's in the frame. I can't tell. I don't. Oh, it's white out. Just kidding. So yeah.
On Arthur Adams, eh?
And it like his pieces truly are Where's Waldo of traditional comic art. Like there's things you discover with detail and that's the thing. There's no misses anywhere. You don't see any filler anywhere. Like that is a perfect alien skull down there. Like that is a very sharp glaive, double-ended glaive or something like that up there. But
with the top Kirby Crackle.
These are real but fake breasts.
Hey Ryan, I found the scan.
Oh,
Hold up your machete. I think you're represented right here.
There you go, guys.
I hope no one saw that.
Yeah, but like even the detail on the boots, and we all know that feet are pretty hard to draw, right? Like he's not giving Thanos moon booties and him, Uggs, Guardian of the Galaxy standard issue Uggs. It's supposed to be pretty comfy anyway, right? So
I stand by my UGG footwear choice.
you have Uggs?
Yeah.
Probably wearing them right now. Well, you're not in your basement tonight, Mike. So probably not.
Tonight I'm wearing slippers.
Oh my God, I thought you were wearing pants.
Why would I wear pants and a shirt?
It looks like you're wearing your chicken costume.
Hey, these legs go places.
Yes, I know. They never stop.
This isn't quite the scan, Ryan, but it kind of gives us a little better view of the piece as well. This is just the picture I pulled that you'd sent me originally, but like you're talking about the dynamic and the fight scene. This is outstanding, and I think
It's
one of Arthur's best published pieces for sure.
Because I think he's so known for the X-Men, and one of my personal favorite. Okay, let's take a vote. X-Babies, yea or nay? I think they're great.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other. It's Arthur did them, so
yeah, and they only have 3 fingers. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
Who?
The X-Babies. That's how he makes them look childlike. They only have 3 fingers
I have no idea.
and a thumb.
Do they do that in the Muppet Babies?
I don't know.
Fingers?
That's a good question.
Jeez,
That's actually why we have you on the show, Mike.
Mike, have you ever seen the Simpsons where Alan Moore's on it, and Milhouse wants him to sign a copy of Watchmen Babies, and Alan Moore is mortified because it's his brother.
Oh,
Have you guys seen that?
No,
I've not.
I will.
You should try and watch that because it's insanely funny, and I think there's only the comic collecting community is the only community who really gets the joke hard, but it's outstanding.
So this one is bigger. So this is the last one I reveal before old Arthosaurus Rex comes out. But this one's 18 by 24. It looks like, and this just came in this week, and it is. I've always loved this cover. Ooh, shit. Hold on. I got too many hands in too many places.
I can't believe at least 100 of our fans haven't asked to see the watercolor I'm working on.
I know. They're afraid. You have a weapon.
I'm getting lots of emails, Mike.
What's that?
They're all coming through via email.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out this on this side, but I will reveal. This just came in, and I'm very happy to have it, very proud, and it might be, without having the real thing,
Oh my God.
my favorite,
God, that's hideous.
right? There's nothing classic about this at all. He just did it.
So is that a real cover? Like, sorry, I'm gonna ask some stupid questions.
You go for it.
Was
Cam,
that,
you can answer because I have to rig my lighting again.
was that a real cover? Was that a published cover? Oh.
So this was, go ahead, Cam, speak.
This is Arthur's recreation of his own.
Yeah.
What happened with the original?
I know where it is, but it's, you have the original? Can you grab a quick scan of that?
The original?
If you want to just send it here, I can put it with my Troy piece. And
Josh, like if you've never met the the insatiable Singaporean collector, Josh is commenting on right now. I've never seen a force of will like that man in my life.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can find. I'll just grab the published cover. I don't think I have the picture of the original, but
I really like. They really did a good job, or Arthur did a really good job of capturing the sinew of everyone.
I know, right?
like Cyclops' leg there, and even Wolverine's leg.
The thing I like about this is it's the blend of the two styles I was mentioning before, right? Like you got those deep inks, at the same time you got a piece that's big enough to have all the detail in it.
Well, Ryan, you and I talked about this too, in terms of.
There's your archangel, whatever.
Yeah.
It feels like each individual character, it's almost one of Arthur's best renditions of each character. Colossus looks incredible. Cyclops looks amazing. Wolverine by him always looks amazing. Warpath looks just like it. Every single character in this piece is bordering on iconic in just how they're represented in this piece alone.
It's a good crotch shot of Nightcrawler. Nice work.
Yeah. It is a grail piece right there.
See, he could draw feet. Those are good.
That's
feet.
what I mean. Well, you do feet in the original too. But this is one of. So I don't know if I mentioned the patron saint of collectors, Mr. Joe Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Lee, like you want to talk about like a different level of, I don't know what the word is, activity and taste and the, will do anything. This was one of Joe's big fives.
So here's the original, and just Tom T says, Gerardo, that shout out to you, absolutely fantastic artist, one of the best working right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you shouldn't have skipped his show, Tom.
So I want to say something here, because normally when I look at colored, and I'm not a collector, right? I think that's all pretty clear.
You are now.
Yeah.
By proxy. But normally when I look at the colored final art, I'm like, oh, I like that. And I don't always get that with the OA. But I think I like this more than the colored piece because there's so much more depth to it.
Yeah. Like the thing is on the original, so this was done, I think that, I want to say Classic Express #1 was 1987, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is not 2012, 86. It says right here, 86. So it's kind of neat that you homage yourself, right? Like I wonder what 2012 Arthur Adams is telling 1986 Arthur Adams right now when they were doing this piece.
Yeah, like Cam, if you just show the colored again.
Oh, sorry guys, I had.
Yeah.
So that's the original colored, Mike. So this one's not published.
Right. But then you see this, and then go to the colored.
Yeah, you lose a lot of that. Like I don't think we've seen the original black and white for the original cover, though, have we?
Oof.
I know where it is. The only reason that this is out in the wild is because the guy that had it commissioned. But like, okay, so can you zoom in on? Okay, Tom T, you're forgiven. It's okay. You got great taste.
Well, Octavio's right. You can see how his art changes, right? Like,
yeah. So that's the best part. Is like this is classic Art Adams, which is fantastic, and he was iconic during this era. But now you see that standout style. Like, can you zoom in on? I don't know if you can zoom in on Havoc. Can you zoom in on stuff?
That's about as deep as I can. No, I can go closer here.
So I don't know. Is Havoc in this? I can't see. I'm pushing too close to the camera.
That's as close as I can go.
So like right there, like look at his anatomy in the original, and you can see like he gets out all of his regrets. It looks like he's got a fleshlight under his costume in the original.
PG, Ryan, PG.
Tell me I'm wrong, Mike.
Oh wow!
Pull yours out of the machete drawer and show us.
That's a really
indifferent.
That's a really good point, Ryan.
I'm learning as I go. Like I haven't had time. I saved my first real true view on this piece until I saw you guys. So
well, I just keep looking at Cyclops, right?
Yeah,
Cyclops,
I know why. You heard he was in an open relationship.
Now that I'm available, yeah.
Oh, Machete Mike's looking for a boyfriend.
But Dylan's right, like, and Octavio said it earlier. Like, there's a lot of change here. I guess in 1986 or whatever, he was trying to mass produce stuff, and this he could take his time on, right? So is that?
Or I don't know. Like, I think that's part of it. I think part of it is that you don't have the creative license. Like, the things I do now in my job versus what I was trusted to do with back in the day. He's probably like, do an X-Men cover. He doesn't get that kind of constrained direction anymore. I don't know.
Well, Vic brings up
Sorry, question for Zaf here. Is that one of the reasons you like covers more? Is you get more time to focus on every character? Or
yeah, it's actually, I think of myself more as an illustrator than a comic artist.
Oh yeah.
You know, I always enjoyed more illustrating stuff and doing telling everything with one picture. But I found a lot of things I love about comics, interior art over the years. But I think I always try to go back to covers because that's my favorite thing to do, not to look at. I love looking at interior pages, but
well, the nice thing about your cover is like,
I think I always prefer. I'm sorry, what?
You're like, the way that you look at a panel could be a cover. Like, you look at something and you could extrapolate into a much bigger piece, and that's why you're perfect for covers, is because each one of your panels either has a unique perspective or a unique composition that it should be a bigger piece.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I mean, there's also the time restraints that you have, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's always a factor because you always, I mean, as fast as you have to do a cover, you will always have more time to do a cover than a page.
Yeah.
Unless it's a splash, but.
And with the cover, you're only responsible for the title of it. Whereas, you know, the interiors, there's a writer that's probably like some of the writers that we've met, not necessarily.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors coming in. Yeah, but I mean, they both have their good side and their bad side. But I think I always prefer covers to interiors.
Well, we like seeing you on the shelf, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, Cam, should we go to Zimmerman first for the second biggest reveal of the evening, and then you?
Yeah, let's do that. What's the second biggest reveal of the evening? Mike revealing his painting?
Yeah, with the brush.
I'm inspired by Gerardo's watercolors to share mine.
Okay, well,
Right.
yeah, let's do it, Mike. Sorry, I did not realize that. One thing too, I just bear with me for a second. My little kaiju of a child right now is just trying to get in on the action. He's doing good for not making a ton of noise, but it's interesting because you talk about Zaf, you talk about characters, and you know, I look at it from, you know, the commission request standpoint, and what guys do. I'm starting to see, you know, more just seeing from a bit of an insider perspective on how the singular vision seems to be working so much more often. And I had a good chat with Troy last night because he had gotten a request, or someone wanted him to do like a 7 or 8 character piece, and you know, he was okay with it. It would have to be a little bit larger, but with him specifically, and Arthur seems to be a little bit different, but I feel like you and Troy, maybe when you're carrying that singular vision, you guys do such a good job of like creating a story with a single character or two characters, where I think a lot of collectors sometimes equate more characters to a better piece. And with some artists, you know, the more characters you can do, a little crazier vision, it definitely works. But I think what oftentimes happens with collectors is the upcharge with additional characters for pieces doesn't necessarily equate to a better piece. It just has to account for the additional time it takes to create this dual composition thing. It's just something I wanted to address because, you know, sometimes we get commission requests. Sometimes they're very singular, sometimes they're multi-characters, and Dylan's on here too, and him and I were actually talking about a multi-character one today with one of our artists who I think will really handle it quite well. I think he does it. But for you, Zaf, is your preference truly that singular vision, that singular character when you tackle a piece?
Yeah, I think I mean, I love, for example, Fracera's illustrations, where he has like one prominent character, and everything else is just background, and he can go nuts on that character. And I think that's what I have the most fun working on. So I always try to steer that way, but sometimes, you know, I love the sort of commissions guys like I don't know, Daniel Warren Johnson do. You know, or the character, or even Troy. Troy has some commissions he did that the character is just a small part of the commission of the page.
It's a scene-based piece,
and it's like a scene base, exactly. And I love that. But when I get to do something for a client, I always think what I would like to do, what I would like to have that character doing, you know. And I always think like a heroic piece or standing, you know, something where I can see the whole character and you know, really go nuts with textures. And I think that's what's expected from me when I get commissioned. So I try to deliver on that, and that's what I have the most fun doing. So I think it works.
And it's funny though, Zaf, and I think it just speaks to your versatility, because your Wolverine piece was kind of a scene piece, you know?
Yeah. Can we see that? Handy, Cam?
Yeah, I do actually. Very handy, actually.
You sleep with it.
I sleep with it.
That's what Jack looks like when he's waiting to get breakfast.
At 10 p.m. every night. That's what Jack turns into.
Yeah, that's the headboard.
You know, Jack is Cam's son. Yeah.
But you had inspiration with this one too, right? So that could direct the way that a piece goes, and you had nobody specific. You had Marvel. So is it different the way that you would tackle commission versus like a?
No, I try to go about it the same way. What's cool about commissions is that you don't have to worry about title placements or anything.
I was just going to ask, how's this going to be a cover?
Right, exactly. But I mean, when I handed out the sketch for this piece, for the Wolverine, I asked if we could have the title on the bottom part, you know?
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's the title page and he ate the cover.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I did a really quick sketch, and just to ask my editor if we could have the title down, you know, at the bottom. And once they approved that, you know, I started doing pencils. But yeah, there's a few things you have to keep in mind when you're doing a cover instead of a commission.
Those look like those two could be companion pieces
Oh,
with Colossus in the foreground and Wolverine in the background. Sorry, David, you can't have them both.
Yeah.
What's
Marvel's already turned this one into a cover, David. So the price just went up. I know you've already paid, but that's just them's the breaks.
It's on the train with your Arthur Jam.
Oh God, poor David. I don't even know if David's still on. I hope he
He's
is.
sleeping. Yeah, he's having nightmares.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
it's night there. Yeah.
Michael.
Yes.
Michael Myers with your machete and your hatchet collection. Let's see it.
Yeah, so there's been a lot, because we're all in quarantine and isolation. Ryan's been doing art at home, and we see, I don't know, 85 different revisions of the same character. And,
There's lots of white on my stuff.
yeah, and a lot of erasing marks. I actually like that texture you add to the paper by rubbing the
It's Conan's albino.
I've decided I'm not going to be the lead artist on anything. I'm going to be the colorist. So this is a piece I'm working on right now. As you can see, it's paint by numbers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's good. Because the best part is you can see the numbers through the paint because I'm using watercolors. And well, except for the pink of his arm, because I didn't have a pink watercolor, so I had to use acrylic. And
Just use Cam's lipstick.
if you hold it in the right spot, you can see it's about a 1/4 inch thick in spots. So some of that acrylic is pretty old. But yeah, it's this will go for sale. I'm sure it'll sell very quickly, even in this market. Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
that is awesome, Mike.
Rob clearly appreciates talent.
I told you this was a house of lies.
I've got another piece, but I'll find my other one that I did months ago. Oh, Dylan, you're my hero! Holy smokes!
In coins, and you have to pick it up.
Yeah, that's right. I would deliver it for that. I don't know.
I guess we got to sign you right away here, Mike. We haven't officially put you on an Inky Knuckles contract, but
I'm actually pretty impressed that he's got a couple fanboys.
Well, I can attest that Ryan, Robin, and Dylan all have impeccable taste. So
where does Dylan live? Because I will deliver this to him for $1,500. Yeah.
He's not answering on purpose.
No, that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
The time is now. The only thing that can beat those watercolors from the master.
Well, and I will show it. This is very difficult given my current setup, but I do have the scan, so I don't even know how I'm gonna show this
I live in
off.
the shadows. That's a good answer, sir. Where do you live? In the shadows.
So this is it. This is my grail. Facilitated by Ryan Sherwood, who I would have no shot at this piece if it wasn't for him. So I won't talk about it too much so I don't get choked up. But this was,
Stand your child beside it so we can see how big it is.
How big did we say it was, Ryan? 22.5 by
24?
24.5 or something?
Yeah, like you have to go to the A's don't even qualify anymore. Like you can't go A0, A1, A2. That's like A infinite.
Yeah.
It's the only piece you've seen that you can measure in feet.
Yeah, so
6 square feet of art.
And I'll show off the scan here in a second, just because I don't think I'm doing the piece justice, but we talked quite a bit, and that was the piece that I pretty much sold my entire collection for. But it was
haircuts.
Yeah.
I gave up haircuts. I gave up all personal grooming. I don't buy shirts anymore.
I love
You
it.
name it.
To do your stuff
You're
shirtless.
grooming 6 months in advance of acquiring that piece, though.
Well, and I talk about it lots, and Ryan, I do truly owe you for this in a huge way. So
I know.
forever grateful. And not just that, but for allowing me to transact on it and not doing it
Getting in the
yourself.
way.
Yeah, that's 2 pieces now. This and the Dale Keown I like so much, but
the only reason that Zek was really even put on the radar is because you immediately pointed it out. You targeted it, and I just pointed you in the right direction. You got hungry. Oh, Dylan, the Zap piece.
No, it's good. I think, and for me, truly, like a big Arthur Adams cover of any sort was approaching like that Grail level quality, and then when this kind of became available, and how you facilitated it, and Joe and everything. So, long story short, I am eternally grateful to all you guys. I think love the piece. It's something I've had my eye on for quite some time, and Brian and I are just,
like this felt like it was untouchable, right? Like you never thought, like the same thing with what I just showed, but you never thought it would be in Calgary, right?
No, and especially because with Joe too, and to Joe Lee, like phenomenal guy,
the patron saint of collectors. Yep,
absolutely. And just I knew how into the piece he was, but I think just allowing us to transact on it means a lot, and Ryan, you talk about it quite a bit, developing the relationships, kind of investing in people long term, and doing that. It's important, because even I look at this piece daily, and I'm just constantly reminded of what you and Joe did to allow it to get this into my hands. But
well, and Arthur knows too.
That's very true as well. So no, I'm very grateful, and I'm really happy to have that.
You underestimate your own contribution to where you are right now. Yeah, there's more thank you in your direction than coming this way. So don't worry about it.
I don't know about that, but well, lots of kind words from the crew for sure. And it's hard because the Grail term's thrown around quite a bit. And I think, I consider it a Grail for me. My Grails, my nostalgia buttons are, Ramita Punisher, or, Qbert or Jim Lee X-Men, and some of that stuff, it's not going anywhere. And, I can't afford, a lot of it too. So I think in terms of pure artistry is what attracted me to Arthur's big pieces like that. So, it's definitely my Grail, and, I'm really happy. There was some deep cuts. There was some Scalera pieces that left the collection. There was some, and anyone that knows me as a collector knows that Matteo Scalera is, one of my favorite modern guys for sure. A few of those pieces I see out in the ether, and I get a little bit sad, but then I get to see this, and I'm reminded of it. So,
and like we were showing, like you cannot comprehend them unless you have them in front of you.
Yeah. And the first time I realized that, Ryan, was when we were at your house and we saw the Zek and we saw the War of the Realms piece. Because I don't think you told me how big they were. You just said they were big.
Yeah.
And then they're just Ryan just got his table, and
it took up half the table.
And it was interesting too, because I think you had the Jim Lee commission there. You had some of your Silvestris out for sure. And it's odd because Octavio, I miss retired Cam. I threatened to retire from this collecting game years ago, but and Brian says I just have to live vicariously. And it's interesting that the collecting standpoint, it is very interesting. And the only reason I was able to get my hands on this piece, I consider a Grail, was because of the people in the hobby. And I think Ryan really has shown that, even as a new collector at the time. I think that was always what you always had an advantage on with people. You knew that it was relationship driven. You knew that you reap what you sow, and it's not just because you're looking to get pieces. It's because relationships at the end of the day are, more important than anything. And I think that's what's really driven you as a collector. And as new as you are to the game, I think it's it's wisdom that you can't teach or you can't necessarily learn. So,
the thing is, like, you have to be a little naive too, which helps. Like, if I knew what I was talking to when we first started chatting, I'd probably be starstruck. But so it's like, there's value coming in and not knowing anything, right? So I blame you for not warning me what I was doing. Like, it's the same thing with somebody telling him to hurry up and pick his burger, right? And like, deep down, everybody's just people, right? And I think that if they feel that it's a good story, we're gonna do it. And it was very obvious that this was a meaningful piece for you. And I don't think it was that hard to say this is where it needs to be.
Yeah, well, and it's greatly appreciated. There's a funny little anecdote, and I love a lot of different nerdy stuff, but with Zaf, because I was looking at that project we did where you did those covers for me, or that cover for me back in the day. I was swiping through that pitch today, and I think if I showed most people that now, they'd be like, how the hell did you get Gerardo Zaffino to just draw you a cover? And my response is, I just asked him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if anyone's ever watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force. If you guys know what I'm talking about. So the guys in the show, Shake and Meatwad and them, they end up with Tara Patrick at their house, the famous porn star.
Oh yeah.
And their neighbor, it's Carl, the neighbor, right? He comes over, he's like, how the hell did you get Tara Patrick over here? And their response was, we called her. And I feel like that is like the Zaf anecdote with me. It's like,
yeah,
I just asked them. and it happened. And obviously I was really lucky, and Zaf was establishing himself at the time. But I look back on that. What's that?
What? You wait too big for us now. You need to see versions from Fan Expo to realize that, I'll give you guys a little bit more of my time. You need to see the old Zimmerman with no shoes on, cutting the dance floor up.
That's some good moves. Not only do facsimile art, but I can dance facsimile dances.
Yeah.
Dylan, and that's exactly right. As funny as that's such a funny, like,
oh my god,
crazy comparison. But I think about that constantly. I think that's perfect.
Remember,
I don't think anybody.
More,
so the thing I don't think we realize is that the dance moves that Zimmerman was pulling off was how he got his machete black belt. So you picture all those dance moves with a machete in his hand. That's why he has that black belt in machete combat.
Deadly.
Yes.
I want you guys to know one of the things that I've been using on this art is this, which I don't know if it shows up.
Is that a Trump margarita? The one where you have to inject bleach and stuff?
Chinese white.
Oh.
Pink. And I kept referring to it as China white, and Jackie was getting worried about what I was doing. The China is Sherwin.
Yeah, we're all out of vodka lines. He's into the China whites now.
Yeah, there's a lot of white lines on here that didn't need to be.
Ooh, it's okay. The first piece is the toughest.
Oh, that's not even I'll go get the first piece. It's terrible.
Did the ones that Mike drew for us, Ryan, did we keep those, or does he still have those?
Oh, I actually know where those are. Hold on.
So Zaf, with Colossus, you redid the pencils for this piece. It was more. This one's fairly stoic too, but the one you had earlier when you laid it out, was it just you just didn't like the pose or
No,
what?
I mean, I like the idea. It was him sitting on top of a sentinel's head, like resting after the fight. But I thought it was, it was missing something. And so I started sketching again. And like I say, I just wanted to show him a little bit more. I think it goes with the character, a bit more heroic and standing tall.
You could tell the
Imposing
truth.
and-
You were inspired by somebody doing Colossus for a month.
That's also true. I was already sick of Colossus. No, it was fun. It was fun. It was so fun to see you work on that piece, which you should show. By the way.
No.
Mike show him.
Yeah.
Well, I got this one. This is actually an origin piece. You go ahead, Mike. But I got
Yeah, Mike, just have one up to the camera.
Yeah, this is original. So last year for my 40th birthday, Ryan bought me a children's paint by numbers book, and I let the paints all dry out. So then I was just using paints like water.
That's pretty good. That's good.
There you can see the numbers still pointing through. And then unfortunately on Iron Man's face, I spilt the blue paint, or I dropped my brush or something. I remember. And it's terrible. It is terrible. When you look at what Gerardo put the day in, day out, and I spent like
You've come a long way though.
$1,500. 4,000 for two of them.
I can tell you somebody that votes yes. It's this guy right here. Somebody that votes yes. Yeah, that guy.
That's Cam. Doesn't it look like Cam?
Yeah, that's an origin piece right there. Cam Country, #1.
Yeah. Nice. It's a spitting image of Cam.
Who needs shoulders? Who needs vision?
Yeah, that one.
It's also followed up by pubic hair Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
This is the only illustration that I'm afraid to scratch and sniff.
Unfortunately, your lighting isn't doing it justice. There, look at that. Look at that line.
I know. There's a lot of white on this.
The hatching.
Look at that cross hatching. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you.
Twice the price.
I don't
know if you also know this. This is like the most coveted size for a collector. It's the old 5x9, or well, no, that's probably. Let's get the tape measure out for this. Let's compare Zimmerman to Arthur Adams.
Yeah, I think I just took it 8.5 by 11 and cut it in half.
Oh, you sure didn't.
No, I didn't want to waste money. Yeah.
The Comics Link has called me daily on these pieces. But I also think that I've seen television footage of this beard in a wet market in China.
Mm-hmm. You remind me you to build something. You're terrible with a tape measure.
Well, I don't think it matters. This is like in person. I think the signature might be my favorite part.
Hey, careful. That could be used for.
Right.
Look at that.
So Zaf, as a incentive for anyone listening, do you will if anyone comes to Calgary, will you ink that piece of Ryan live for anyone who shows up?
Of course. I'm always doing with that sort of thing.
So, if you guys all know what my special material is, I should actually show it to you. So street tones are very special to you. I will show you what I'm using for my own tones.
And we definitely have to show
a kind of blood.
I'm using pieces of this on everything. So I too have special tones for my pieces.
That is super.
Just wait until this gets put in. There's no. This is scratch free. This is how revered this seat. There's scratches on it.
And so Dylan's he just talking about today, and especially with Vlad doing some tone work. Wanted to show this piece that Dylan got. This was pre-Inky Knuckles from Vlad. That's the impression that he gets.
Ooh,
That's true.
Match with Dylan here. He remembers things.
I think he's on it.
Well.
So this is a piece that Vlad did for Dylan recently. I hadn't actually seen it until Dylan showed it to us.
Wow.
But some awesome tone work in there.
That's so cool.
Dylan, I'll trade you straight across for Iron Man.
Yeah.
Patreon.
Cool.
Well, and Dylan, I pose this question to you because you got Cable here from Vlad. You got Rick and Morty from Troy, and you got Conan from Zaf. Do you is it an artist basis you had in your philosophy, or
I think Jack ate the cables.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
It sounds like Jack ate the cables.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
They
missed
go wonky.
You're cutting it out.
Oh, sorry. I'm sure there's something going on.
So
Did you hear me, Dylan? Yeah. Can you guys hear me all right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
Yeah, it's just Dylan philosophy because he's gotten characters from all different corners of the globe, kind of thing. He's requested stuff. Rick and Morty was a really unique one for Troy. Conan for Zaf. Well, so unique, Dylan. I'm obviously killing.
Do you know how Dylan kind of found you guys?
Well, and that I think you'll have to speak to that, Ryan. And I'm just kidding with the sarcastic tone, Dylan. We all need a Zaf Conan in our lives. So
like white out
I
on
think
cages, so is the Conan of Zaf in the days of our lives.
Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get rid of this.
Yeah, there he goes. That's what he tries to match characters, and that's the same approach that I have too. Like you think what they could do well, and what you'd like to see in something you're not bored of doing too, right? Like Zap, you asked me to do Conan, so you love the character enough that you'll never get bored of it, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
You're just very offended.
You don't buy a pickup truck from Lamborghini, right?
Yeah, you don't order pizza from McDonald's.
Oh,
well,
sure.
I think it's interesting because original art collectors, I feel like you kind of educate yourself a bit. You get some experience, and you a lot of us try and lean towards that. And I have a lot of tattoos, and lots of people ask me, where I got them, how I sought out the artist, and my methodology for tattoos was the exact same. It was find artists that I like.
That's why Mike's on your body.
That's why I have Mike. My whole sleeve is Mike's. But it was just interesting to me how, because I think people who get tattoos, it's typically not as much art collectors. It's people just want a tattoo. So a lot of people don't seek out an artist they like and try and match that artist's style with something they'd like on them. Whereas that's, I just try and mesh the two because I'm really into both. But I think that's the right approach with all forms of art, tattooing, original art collecting, fine art collecting, whatever it is kind of exactly that.
Like Victor's talking about something in the comments about he's gone away from artist choice to the other thing is too, like there's something about seeing somebody's unique take on the same thing over and over as well, right?
Yeah.
Just without if you're doing that without expectation, I think that's a great idea. Like you're identifying a match with a certain thing to a tattoo artist. I think the perfect opposite to that is, okay, I got a character. I don't care how you do it. but I want to see your personal take on it. So
Yeah.
Who has the Juggernaut that I've seen? Is that Ryan or Cam? Or nobody now?
the Del Auto Juggernaut.
The painting.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
sold that. That was a casualty.
That was one of those deep cuts. I loved that piece. But
Dread
it was
a good one too. Yeah.
Arthur above all else, I think. The next Troy I get will definitely be the artist choice. And I think you guys have no idea how happy you make Troy with the artist choice requests. He truly loves that. And I think most guys do. But I think it's tough. Like, I understand why just handing an artist choice to an artist it's not the easiest thing to do, because if all of a sudden Zaf's having a day where, he's going to draw a video game character that he has affection for that nothing about.
Mega Man.
Yeah, it's kind of jarring. He'll do an incredible job on it, but artist choice, I think. Sorry, Zaf, go ahead.
Artist choice works better when it's original character,
Yeah.
Especially because that's what I was thinking about that when you mentioned the video game character. I will feel so much pressure to work on something that if somebody asks me an artist choice,
You were such a generous person, though. That's your thing.
No, because somebody's paying me to do something, and I want them to have something that means a lot to them,
Yep.
And I get that you want. I get the fact that you might want anything by these artists, but if you can get something you love by an artist you love, I think it means so much more.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of direction. That's the same thing. I would be the same way. I would hate to have like free reign on something because I don't have the force of will to just draw something and say, this is what you're looking for. Like you want that person to identify because that's the type of guy you are.
Because it's impossible, because you don't know the person most of the time.
Yeah.
So you don't know what interests they have and what characters they like. I think it would be a lot of pressure. I don't think I ever got an artist choice request.
Well, you got one now.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. For so many of us,
as long as
and Mike has to color it. No numbers.
That would be fun. That would be.
It is a bit of a dangerous game too, because like Zaf said, if it's an artist choice, it has to be an original character. Because if it's not, for some of us who have had Carlos is awake still.
Some bread?
Yeah.
The running joke there, I think.
Yeah. Use some of the white paint on that bread too.
But for a lot of us, if you read comics your whole life, you may have a reason to hate a character that you grew up with. Like for me, I can't even think which characters I despise because they were always in the X-Men cartoon, and I wanted to see Wolverine fighting Sabretooth. I wanted to see Omega Red fighting Colossus. That's all I wanted. And I think for the longest time, I actually, and it's not anymore, but I actually kind of despised Cable and I kind of despised Bishop because they were so focused, and the reruns were always on those time travel arcs. And I didn't care as a kid. I wanted Wolverine to fight Sabretooth.
There has to be something with that because, like, same thing. I didn't like Bishop or Cable either. I thought they were trying to jam them at you like Gambit. Gambit was a successful deploy of a new character, where Cable, they're trying to force you to like him.
Yeah, that's awesome that you said that, because we didn't even preemptively talk about this at all. But yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Sorry, I'm just trying to manage some of the questions too. And I felt like Wolverine was a starring character there, but I didn't think Sabretooth got enough. He'd show up occasionally, but
Yeah.
I wanted an entire season where it's just those two fighting each other.
Do you feel like this show is a little bit like having a house party chat where we're all just hanging around and drinking?
I think so. Although I don't think Zaf's drinking tonight, is he?
Zaf.
I am what?
Are you drinking tonight?
Bebidas.
I'm drinking coffee.
You're
Because I
drinking
have a
Batman's
long night
brain.
ahead. I have a long night ahead, so
We didn't even talk about what everybody else is drinking. I think I'm the only one who went through
yeah,
that.
we skipped that tonight.
Yeah, I have the Glenlivet, and this Mike, the uncle that I keep telling you that you remind me of, the flannel wearing machete
tickling one?
wielding uncle. He gave me this for Christmas, so he is also a legit dude. It's a really good bottle of Glenlivet Nadura single malt Scotch. So
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah.
I love that.
are you?
Ryan, I'm guessing you're drinking ciders.
I'm going to show you the recipe of what I'm drinking. I'm just trying to find it. Just hold up.
Well, while you're doing that, let's look at Colossus one more. Carlos is right.
Well, and so
This one?
Dylan, you have a Sekiro piece from Emma-Rios, and you've never played Sekiro. Was that a request? Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to
I'm
manage.
drinking the Trubtini.
No.
Oh no.
Yep.
Well,
Recipe for pure health.
we'll miss you.
I don't think you will.
No, I would. I would.
I would miss you too. Yes, Carlos, because this is your world. We're all just living in it.
Octavio, Uncle Mike, it's funny because Jack's Uncle Mike was over here today, and
Oh, that's amazing.
Jack kept calling him Uncle John.
I can't believe that you could still do your cross hatching and make it look purely metallic too.
Yeah, that's
It has
outstanding.
a little
Zach.
bit of everything. It has some. I mean, I still have to go over it with whiteout afterwards, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Use some
Yeah, Carlos?
highlights and stuff like that.
Right down.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And then I'm gonna draw the cables over it. You know, a couple of cables and wires dripping down from him.
Awesome.
So
Yep.
did he get caught in a power line? Like what's going on?
He's, he's coming out of the inside of a fallen sentinel.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry that your art isn't good enough tonight to impress.
He will
Mike,
never be. I know he will never be.
No, it's beautiful. I needed some.
Well, it's funny, Zaf, because Colossus is a tough one. I don't know what kind of feedback we're getting there.
Sorry, what?
Oh, I think Ryan's blowing his nose.
Mixing a martini.
Martini.
But because some of as great as Colossus is, I always thought some of his character designs were kind of wonky and kind of goofy, you know.
Yeah.
Especially when he went from metallic to like regular Peter, and he's just like this normal sized dude, and he's got this like super sharp shoulder like onesie thing on. But this is badass. This is how he should be presented in comics. You know, a confident, heroic, you know, the toughest guy in the room kind of thing.
Thank you. Glad you like it.
Yeah, it's outstanding.
I've always liked Colossus. I think I had one issue of, I want to say it was Iron Man and Colossus was in it, and Nightcrawler was there. That's the only three characters I know from being 90. Pretty sure that Ryan's in the bathroom.
Basically, I'll mute his mic for him. Colossus.
Ryan could be the mayor of that small town in
I'm
Texas.
back. So are you surprised how many somebody just announced for it? Could you hear me?
I should
Good?
have muted you, but it made for some good listening.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you hear the long splash? I had to go.
It was the sporadicness of it that was worrisome.
Well, it's on the ceiling. So, do you are you surprised with how many Conans I was able to fit onto my panel page, Seth?
Oh yeah, that was impressive.
7 Conans.
That was impressive, man.
Was there 7 on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
One
I'm
on the
quite
cover.
It's tough because as you're sharing those pieces with us, I'm usually just answering some emails. We had a really busy week with Inky Knuckles last week, so I'm 100 messages behind every single time, but I don't get to comment enough on it because the picture I'm trying to comment on is you guys have already moved on, but it's kind of long. It's awesome.
Out of those 100 messages, I've sent 97 of them. Uncanny X-Men 183 was the bromance between those 3 characters. I just saw that in the comments.
I'm just Googling it, and I apologize. I shouldn't. This is stuff we should know. Mike probably knows.
I want to know SFA. Bootlegging is a habit nose, though. It's because of Uncanny X-Men 183.
I'm really surprised my microphone still worked that far away. I have to go to the guest house to go to the washroom.
I'll pull that up here because that's iconic for lots of different reasons, and that's very meaningful for me. And what we were talking about. I'll just pull up the cover here and we can have a peek. Because I think Go ahead.
Has there been one person that has stuck with us the entire 2.5 hours, by the way?
All of them. Look how many there are.
Well, no, there's some. Octavio wants to be on again, don't you, Octavio?
Well, and maybe that's a good way to wrap up, Cam, is who's on next week?
Well, it all depends because this is the group of regulars for the Saturday Night Art Show. I always tell Zaf that, and I tell Ryan and Mike too, don't feel obligated, but you guys are co-hosts, so
you're obligated.
You're on. So,
Brian, we're glad you're here, buddy.
Well, and maybe next week, and we'll see what Zaf's week's like if he wants to join in. I know I'm just checked my phone here. You're getting some heat for not doing Harley tonight, Zaf.
Oh, great.
Who requested Harley?
It's the next. He's the next one.
Yeah, no. He was just bugging me a bit. It was all in fun.
Gotta be careful. You can't bug the artist. You might get a Harley with a beard, or you might just get a motorcycle.
Well, and I wanted to talk about Harley too, and maybe I'll do it more next week because just with how impressed I've been with the collectors and nailing down these commission requests. It's kind of unique because with Greg, and I know Greg is typically kind of a Harley collector. I know his collection is a lot of Harley, but it's a bit of an odd choice for Zaf. But Zaf has shared the layout with us, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
outstanding.
I found like I said, I mean, I always try to find the best I can do with what I'm asked, so I think the best way to go with that one was to go that route, which I'm going to try to keep a secret.
Well, it's awesome though. Like the best part is you get all of this kind of, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows how to do it. It's not realistic with kind of like that functional costume stuff. You can tell it's definitively her. but it's done in a way that only you can do it.
Well, we'll see.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Sorry, Greg, but it's the next one.
No, it's all good. He was just giving me. I just saw an Instagram message from him, but thanks, but no thanks. What's that in regards to? Is that the Batman, Dylan?
No, it's thanks but no thanks coming on with Rob.
I meant Dylan Burnett. Sorry, Dylan.
Dylan Burnett watching this crap?
No, I talked to. It's interesting you say that because I talked to Dylan this week, Anand, and Warwick. I just talked to Warwick today, so all three of those guys are up for it. Just kind of depends when.
Oh, nice.
So we'll kind of see. This week kind of just came together. Sorry, Dylan. Yeah, it's all good. I should be more specific too, but this week it came together because I knew that Zaf had the Colossus in the works, and
that is fantastic. That piece is outstanding.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting. I can't believe that we opened a commission list and Ryan and I just didn't try and swoop up all the spots.
Like I'm also breaking my easel right now too.
and so this week Mike talked about like how this came together, and like this week kind of came together last minute because Kevin Castanero had done that Mojo piece, which is outstanding, and he was going to ink it, but I kind of misunderstood. But he was going to be on the live stream. I knew Zaf had the Colossus, and I know that Ryan's got a disgusting amount of Arthur Adams pieces. So I thought it can kind of all come together. So next week's theme is kind of TBD. I guess we'll see, what happens in the next few days in regards to that, and see if Zaf wants to deal with us anymore or not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm up for it. Yeah.
Awesome.
This got to be pretty fun for you though, right? Like this is like hanging out with your buddies while you have to work.
Exactly. Sometimes I feel bad that I don't respond that much because I'm concentrated on the piece, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it's good, Zaf. It's awesome. Seeing you work's awesome. It just keeps another extra dynamic to this whole thing. But yeah, no, I think that's probably a good time to call it. It's been 2.5 hours. I think it's probably the longest we've gone so far.
Yeah. How about we do a quick rundown of what you're reading right now, because everybody's in quarantine, like some good suggestions or something like that?
For sure. And we'll go through us on the, and
I think Akon's auto turner kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mike, why don't you go first?
Well, I'm reading League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
What do you think of that, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Alan Moore, right? So I'm going to love it. Yeah, I really liked the first book, I guess, like the first series, first arc. And now I'm reading the one where it's just Alan Quartermain in just text. I don't think there's like 6 or 7 different panels in it. So, yeah, it's almost like just a normal fiction. So, after that, a bunch of other stuff that you gave me. So, yeah.
Have you read Transmetropolitan, Zaf?
Yes.
I have, a long time ago.
I just picked it up, and it's starting out really good. And am I wrong in saying that the title character is inspired by Alan Moore?
Sorry?
The way that he's drawn? Is that supposed to be Alan Moore? In Spider Jerusalem at the beginning of the book.
No, you mean
no.
Well, yeah, it's Warren. What's his Ellis? I think it is that writes it. But if you like the very beginning of it when he's living in the mountains, it looks just like Alan Moore. Is that supposed to be on purpose?
Right. Yeah, I have forgotten about that.
Yeah, I got it right here. Let me take it. I was wondering, like this is something that it's a Vertigo book. In like Monstrous, I've started to read, and Josh, that was on here, the collector Galactus. It's really
Yeah,
good.
Transmet's awesome.
Al Gore. Yeah, no, Rob, I wasn't talking about Al Gore. He speaks a lot of lies, though. But yeah, let's try the first. So yeah, Spider Jerusalem living in the forest. Oh, this is a terrible way to show anything.
Right, yeah, he might.
But anyway, it's starting out. It's really interesting. So
Yeah,
that's where I am. How about you, Cam? Are you reading anything? Are you listening to?
Yeah. What am I reading? What did I pull the other night? Some old Hellboy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What am I reading right now? This is so bad. I have a stack beside my bed that I pull every night to read. But
I also got this bad boy, the new spinner rack, by the way. So,
nice.
I suggested everybody get one of those. But go ahead. Not sure why I'm on the camera.
I think our host dropped off.
Yeah, I think that Jack stopped finishing the eating the cables and then started eating him. Okay, well let's put this up as the backdrop for now. And hey, Mike, do you want to wrap it up? I'll hold up the art. Gerardo, you say your goodbyes, and then we'll let him plug back in the batteries.
No problem.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone. Thanks for your time tonight, and look forward to this again next week.
This was your new host, Mike Zimmerman.
And the Argentinian assassin, Gerardo Zafino.
All right.
Night, guys. I don't know if anyone can hear me, but
there he is.
Every other syllable.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. Night. We'll see everyone soon. Thanks.
See you guys. Thank you.